Are we on air now?
Yes, we are. We can start now. Yeah.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Joel Cuello. I'm a professor of Biosystems Engineering at the University of Arizona, and I'm vice chair of the Association for Vertical Farming. We'd like to welcome all of you to this roundtable by the Association for Vertical Farming. I'd like to say a very early good morning here in North America, and of course, good morning in Europe, and good afternoon in Southeast Asia. So today we have this roundtable that is focused on the vertical farming in Asia, the challenges and opportunities during and after the COVID-19 pandemic. So today we're joined by distinguished panelists. We've got Dr. David Lee, who is the head of international sales at SANANBIO, and he's joining us today from Xiamen in China. We have Ms. Eri Hayashi, who is the Vice President of the Japan Plant Factory Association, who's joining us from Chiba in Japan. We've got Mr. Yasuhiro Suzuki, the General Manager for Asia at Heliospectra, who's joining us today from Sweden. And last but not least, we're being joined by Christine Zimmermann-Lössl, who's the Chairwoman of the Association for Vertical Farming, or AVF, joining us from Munich in Germany. And I just would like to acknowledge our other vice chair for the Association for Vertical Farming, Mr. Ramin Ebrahim-Najad, and he's behind the scene and is taking care of this Zoom roundtable. So again, thank you and welcome. So we're going to start by me asking each one of our distinguished panelists to talk a little bit about their association or organization or company, very briefly and concisely, and then at the same time telling us the key challenges that they have faced or are facing on account of COVID-19. So please talk about the challenges only, not the opportunities, which we will get to right after the introduction. So let me start with you, Eri. If you could talk about a little bit about the Japan Plant Factory Association and the challenges.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Eri Hayashi from Japan Plant Factory Association. First of all, thank you very much for having me. It's really exciting to be here. Japan Plant Factory Association was founded in 2010 with a mission to develop and introduce a sustainable plant factory technology to help solve the food, energy, resource, people's health issues. So we have 130 company members, 100 individual members, and then organizing workshop training and also doing research with collaboration with other academia and industry. So speaking of the industry now in Japan, statistically it's said that 200 plant factory in Japan so far. This number includes a small scale, for example, for the restaurant kind of, mini system. Mm-hmm. But the trend is that there are more large scale farm being built. And then so mass production is a key. So I think, roughly, I think more than half of the produce of in the Japanese market is by the large scale farm, I would say. So more than half of that. And then under COVID-19, as an association, we started the survey and then trying to see what is the main problem people are having and trying to share the information as much as possible. And also trying to do everything online, which is not easy, but we are trying. So everything is online. But now we are starting the tour, physical tours, a little by little. So we'll see how we live the new normal of COVID-19.
Right. Yeah. Eri, thank you. That's very informative. Could you tell us what are the major crop products being produced in plant factories in Japan?
I think leafy vegetable is a key because there's so much in demand from the market, not only from the supermarket, but for example, like food services, including convenience store, let's say for sandwiches. So, the farmer cannot catch up with the demand, I think, some farm. and also strawberries or other crops. But I think the most of the market would be the leafy green and then the herbs and basil and stuff. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to turn to Dr. David Lee. Again, Dr. David Lee is with SANANBIO in Xiamen. Yes, please tell us a little bit about SANANBIO and any challenges you may have faced or are facing on account of COVID-19.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, North America, Europe. Good afternoon, East Asia. And my name is David Lee. I come from SANANBIO. So SANANBIO is a young company which has engaged in this industry 5 years before. The company has two founders. The first is the SANAN. We call the SANAN Group is like the third LED manufacturer, in the world. SANAN Group, which is the largest in China. Another founder of SANANBIO is the National Research Center, specifically focused on botany science. So 5 years ago, these two groups decided to get into the new industry like plant factory. So they want to use the advantage of different size to move forward. And the main business of SANANBIO is specifically focused on the indoor farm, like a total closed artificial light, which we call the plant factory. And so now we have nearly 600 employees all around the world. We have brand company in United States, Singapore. We have a branch office in Middle East and in Hong Kong, like that. The main products of SANANBIO is the total solution in measures and the facilities about the indoor farm, like modules, LED lights, and technology service. And so I think if we're talking about COVID-19, obviously many of the industries have been affected by this issue. But I think in China, the most challenge of this pandemic is the slowdown of the investment in the society in China. Actually, we have lost nearly 1/3 of the year during the pandemic. But after the next year, I think from June to July, everything come to well, and the economy will become better. So I think that investment slowdown has some negative effect on the Chinese plant factory industry. So that's all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, David. Let me turn to you, Yasuhiro Suzuki. Again, he's with Heliospectra, based in Sweden, and he's the general manager for Asia. So please tell us a little bit about your company and any challenges you may be facing.
Hello, everybody. Maybe I can say good morning and good afternoon and good evening to North America. My name is Yasuhiro Suzuki. First of all, I really wanted to say thank you for Joel for very nice introductions, and also AVF for giving me this fantastic opportunity to talk about our companies and also our challenges today. So our company, Heliospectra AB, as Joel mentions, the Swedish company located in the Gothenburg in Sweden. We are not big company like SANANBIO. We are around maybe 30 people working here, but mostly on the research basis. So our origin of the company is from the research side. So we have a many collaboration with the many researching institute, university. That was maybe our starting point. And after that, we try to go into the commercial market, and our product portfolio covers from top light for the university usage, like a different type of the wavelengths, like 9 different colors, and also can be adjustable from 0 to 100% on these 9 different wavelengths. That type of the top light or We also have light burr for the vertical farming. And also we have a solution for the greenhouse and also indoor solutions. And crop-wise, we can cover from the leafy green or microgreen to the tomatoes or other type of things. And also our light, I used, as I said, many institutes, researching institutes. So they are doing like a speed breeding type of the trial. So I think, that we have a quite interesting portfolio, and now I'm in charge for the Asia. So I really wanted to introduce our interesting, innovative product to the Asian market. So that's the maybe short introductions, and maybe I wanted to turn to the challenges. So as David said, of course, slowing the investment is a big challenge. But at the same time, it's a physical, the disturbance. For example, we have some big contract with some customers in some countries. But due to the border closure, our engineer cannot go into, and also we are part of the big project, which means that maybe the greenhouse builders or like HVAC builders or environment equipment suppliers, their engineer also cannot come into the country to build all these facilities. So that's the really physical, the difficulty to proceed the project on time. So many projects delayed due to this the physical disturbance, which means the border closures. So that's really tough for us to to deliver our product on time to the customer side, actually installed. So that's the physical part of the difficulty at this moment.
Yes,
Okay,
that makes perfect sense, Yasuhiro. Thank you so much. I'd like to turn to you, Christine, Zimmermann-Lössl. So tell us a little bit, please, about the Association for Vertical Farming and any challenges it may have faced during the pandemic.
I'm happy to talk about the association. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon and late night for you, Trail, and thank you for being here. The AVF was founded 2013, so we are the younger brother or sister from Japanese Plant Factory Association. And what we do is organizing webinars like that. We raise awareness on the topic of vertical farming. We initiate projects, we bring collaboration, and we build consortia for projects, for example. That is still the core of our activities. And sure, in COVID times, we had to change some basic activities like conferences and webinars and workshops, all online. And to be honest, I enjoy that today, but I'm a bit fed up with online meetings. I would love to meet in person. And I really like the hybrid version of meetings, but COVID just didn't allow any personal meetings in a larger scale, and that was and is still a challenge. We cannot plan. We had to cancel many things, and for the future, we are not certain of what will happen. And so next year's planning is also with a big question mark. The wonderful opportunity COVID gave to us was the really better understanding of many more people, citizens, politicians, industry, of how important it is to local produce, to have a local, safe and reliable production. And that is really a big boost to us. We have gained 10 or 11 new members. I think not just because of COVID, but that accelerated our growth and visibility. So thank you for also taking the opportunity to organize a webinar like this. I think without COVID, we wouldn't have thought about it to realize it. And we have been forced to do that, and that's a good step. For us as a team, it didn't change anything because our whole team is scattered around the world. We have Ramin in Denmark, we have Joel in Arizona, we have people in Italy, in the UK, so in Africa. So for us to meet and work remote as a team, we were used to it, and that is what helped a lot to manage COVID-19.
All right, thank you, Christine. I mean, certainly, we miss the in-person interaction, in-person communication, but I suppose we have to be a little bit more patient.
Yes.
That will happen for sure, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Christine. I mean, certainly COVID-19 has been the biggest disruption we have experienced, all of us, in our lifetime. It's not a small thing. It's really disrupted all aspects of the world as we know it. And that certainly includes the global food supply chain. And so I want to turn back to you again, Eri, in terms of the experiences of the plant factories slash vertical farms in Japan. Certainly there's been a disturbance, but at the same time, whenever you've got these challenges, there are opportunities as well that present themselves. So can you tell us a little bit about that in terms of what are the new opportunities, perhaps in terms of market opportunities and new retail strategies that have presented themselves or that have made themselves clearer in the face of this pandemic with respect to your plant factories in Japan? Tell us about
Sure. Yeah, sure. So when the COVID-19 started, so obviously we have to shut down the restaurants. Now it's getting back. So meaning that you have less demand from the restaurant, but actually more demand from the retail stores. And then the one of the good feature beauty of the plant factory is the hygiene management kind of things.
Correct.
So even like we are learned after the COVID-19, you have to wash hand carefully. You have to wear mask, gloves. But then everything is a really normal procedure that the plant factory farmer has been doing from the day one. So we could prove that it's nothing special. And then one of the interesting points that one of the major farm has pointed out is that actually the inside the cultivation room is more safer than outside, because it's really cared and you don't touch, and there's wear a mask and it's really clean. So I think in the future it might be interesting to demonstrate or doing some research with the data that how safe inside the cultivation room. That might be the key feature for the next generation plant factories, under COVID-19 situation, I guess. Yeah. Right. And also, since it's cleanness is a point, so that maybe consumer will be feel safer with this packed, so that, when you go to supermarket and you feel secure, it's cleanness. So I think that's an interesting point for the future, I think, for this industry.
Right. So that's very interesting, Erin. So before the COVID-19 pandemic happened, my understanding was that vertical farming plant factories are already well known in Japan among the consumers. So would you say that there is now even a more heightened and a more increased awareness of vertical farms after or during the COVID-19 pandemic?
Well, I shouldn't say yes completely, but of course it might help, I guess. And people, I think it doesn't mean in Japan, but I think people care more what kind of food they eat and where it's grown. and you want to start growing the food at home, you know. So I think transparency of how it's grown and where it's grown, I think it's a key, and the sustainabilities.
Right. Earlier, you referred to the online business, retail business for vertical farms in Japan. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, I think
As
there
an-
is a more stronger market for the online, stronger, I mean, business for that. I mean, for the internet through internet business. But what I meant was that, as Christine said, is we have to survive under the situation. We have to keep growing, have to keep improving what we can do under this situation. So every service has to be online. So, yeah, but I mean, I realize that no matter where you are, even you don't meet each other, even in Tokyo, so distance doesn't matter anymore.
Right. Right. But would you say that consumer behavior, meaning to say ordering online, buying online, do you think that will stay in Japan even after COVID-19 passes?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I don't think we will go back to before. I think it's more like a hybrid kind of people. I mean, even for the working style as well. I mean, more, you know, you will get, I mean, good and, you know, all the mixture of everything.
And could you tell us how quickly the plant factories in Japan were able to adapt to that, or to adapt that online type of retail? Did they have challenges, difficulties adapting to that, or were they able to adjust quickly?
I mean, I wouldn't say all the farm has adjusted quickly. I think the company who has been doing the business were getting stronger. But I think there's more collaboration between the company, you know, even the farmer. The collaboration with, you know, online service company.
Yeah.
And then but still there are many challenges. But I mean, I think there's some way to go. Yeah.
All right. And last question on this topic with you is, since you're the Japan Plant Factory Association, and you are in the midst of this disruption, did you provide any help to the member companies to facilitate their adjustment to the situation?
Yeah, that's part of our mission. We believe that, I mean, of course, we can't do everything. I mean, we need to work together. So first thing we did was visualize understand what's the actual, challenge that our industry is facing. And then maybe some farm has a good, practice, so that it's a good lesson for other farms. So that kind of things, and sharing and information sharing, so that we can, grow the industry together, you know.
All right. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you. David, I want to turn to you. So I know that SANANBIO now has a number of production plants in different parts of Asia and the world. And of course in China. And I had a chance to the opportunity to visit your facility in Xiamen 2 years ago, and you're producing crops there and selling them actually. So tell us about the how COVID-19 has disrupted your supply chain, and how you have adapted your business to be able to sell your produce, to continue selling your produce during the disruption.
Yeah. First of all, SANANBIO's factory is like a commercial model operating, because there are nearly 200 plant factories, including big farms, small farms, all over in China, based on the number of last year, but only 10% of that is like a commercial way. Is operating like a commercial way. Nearly 19% of them people are use them to doing experiments, like showing, and it's not the commercial way. So if you want to find some products on the market that find some vegetables produced in plant factories, there is a small number of that you can select it, you can find. So SANANBIO has produced, tried to produce vegetables since 2016. It lasted for 4 years. We have 300 sets, like size, like supermarkets, like hospitals, like international schools in Xiamen. And of course, when the COVID-19 come, nobody can leave the home. They have to stay home, have to stay safe. So the demand decreased a lot, especially in the first 2 months of this year. And so we, now they come back again, they pandemic too. And we have to, shut down some facilities to cut down the cost. And from April to March, this situation become better. I think the trend of plant manufacturing in China after COVID-19, there are some significant changes. First, I think the government, since the COVID-19 gave a strong signal to the government that the government and the people have to find some solutions other than the traditional way to keep the supply of the vegetables, even crops, when the bad situation come again. It is the first. So they start to think about it because the Chinese market is on the early stage of the plant factory. So you can find many plant factories, but the production cost is still very higher than normal production in China. Okay. The second is that if we look at the high cost production way, we have to find a way, find some other method to use the plant factory to make a contribution to the economic and the society development. Like now we have found a great opportunity that seedling. If we use plant factory to produce seedling only for traditional farm, that will be a great market. I can give you a simple number. Every year, the Chinese normal farmland use nearly 300 billion or all kinds of seedlings for like a pepper, tomato, and or all kinds of melons, but only no more than 1% of which use the facility agriculture to produce seedlings. I think this is a great opportunity. Based on the market investigation and the comparison of different ways of producing seedlings, we found that if we use plant factories produce the seedlings for traditional farm, that will be making a win-win economic. So this year, during the COVID-19, we have put out our new facilities for G11 for produce the seedlings for farmers like pepper farmers, melon farmers, something like that. Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, wow. So I suppose that's one silver lining of COVID-19 for SANANBIO is that you essentially discovered this new basically business model for you, which is instead of growing crops to maturity to be sold, you're going to be growing seedlings to be sold to farmers for them to plant them in regular outdoor farms. And you've already started this, yes? You said you've already started this.
Yeah, last year on September of last year, we start to build a seedling farm, use artificial light in the northeast of China, like Shanxi province. A lot of seedling companies have a high interest on this kind of seedling method because let me say, the seedling market value of Chinese vegetable crops is nearly 14 billion US dollars.
40 billion US dollars, yes.
Yeah, exactly. But only only 1% of that I use in greenhouse. I use greenhouse. This is a very small part. There's a larger potential. And the second part, if we use in our total solution, if you use artificial light, environmental control, to close the environment to grow seedling in the farm. For example, for pepper seed growing for 20 days, what is the cost? It's nearly 0.007 US dollars. That means 7 cents. I mean, the cost is 7 cents. But how much it can be sold in the market? Nearly 1 Chinese yuan. I want to know how that is. 13 cents US dollars like that. So that will be profit. it's easier for us to grow seedling to make money than grow vegetables, because the Chinese vegetables are very yeah.
Yes, David, let me ask you this. I mean, certainly your competitive advantage is that because you're growing the seedlings in a vertical farming setting, the quality definitely is much higher than seedlings that are produced in a non-vertical farming manner. But what about in terms of the cost between your business producing the seedlings using a vertical farm versus another competitor that's just growing the seedlings in regular ways? Are the prices competitive?
Yeah, actually, if we mow the seedling, if we grow seedling inside in only 15 to 20 days, it could increase nearly 15 at least % of yield compared with the normal growth farmers. And to our surprise, we think that at first we thought that the use plant factory growth seedling would be much higher than normal seedling, growing like a greenhouse but the plant factory has some advantages like layers, like can adapt to different seasons and can transport this can feed different area demands. So this has a lot of advantages. Use that, we can take a high price of the market. Actually the cost is rarely the same. We found this is a new market to Chinese plant factory.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense because they're growing faster, and so than normal ones. So that definitely will help in terms of controlling the cost, and of course the quality is much higher, and you can manipulate the environment so that your seedlings are hardier and greater yield, and so on and so forth. So, well, you've just presented here to the world a new route, a new application for vertical farming. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to turn to you, Yasuhiro. So I know that you talked about the difficulties that you have encountered with your company in terms of logistics, in terms of borders being closed. But tell us about opportunities that you have discovered or ran into for your business.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, we have done a series of the webinar organized by us, and then we talk about many opportunities, including vertical farming opportunities. And then I think we have quite many interest from many different parties and many investors. So I got many inquiries recently. But the inquiry is more like a quite basic inquiry. How do we have to start from where? So that type of the inquiry I got quite many recently. But then the first things, of course, we can talk about the facilities, but at the same time, we really need to talk about the marketing. As Eri-san explained about the current situation in Japan, so I think the demographic is changing, and also more and more single household, and also people try to eliminate cooking at home. So that's why delicatessens, or in Japanese we call nakashoku. Nakashoku means it's not really outside, it's not really inside. Like buy some stuff at the supermarket, and then we just cook very, very quickly. Or maybe we just buy something at the supermarket, not really frozen, but like a freeze, just microwave over. That type also we call nakashoku in Japanese. So these are quite popular, and also getting more and more popular from there. Then, of course, even in Sweden here, we can see many cut vegetables, cutting vegetables, already cut and also mixed.
Right.
So I thought that is the typical Japanese trend I saw, but there are many in Sweden already. So which means the people are not really buying one head of the lettuce or one head of the cabbage, because it's too big for the one single household, or maybe you can call like a nuclear families, or maybe people are changing their behavior, which means that I am typical vegans, but I can eat meat, or I'm quite strict in that, like allergy on that kind of thing. So actually, even in one family, people are eating different things. So
All right.
we need to have a more small portions or more like a delicatessen type of the treatment of the vegetable. That means that we have many new opportunities for the
Yes.
food service.
Okay.
And also for food service, they just buy the product. And also the very important thing for the food service is the consistent quality and consistent quantity and consistent price.
Right.
So which can provide me by the maybe plant factories or more like a large scale, not really nature based, more like an industrial based, maybe crops or maybe provision of these kind of the harvest. So that's the basic needs happens in the society. But at the same time, as Edison said, the e-commerce or news type of the format is emerging, but we really have to go over some hindrance at the same time, which means the e-commerce, how consumer or buyer secure the safe feeling. Because the only thing we are going to do is just a click.
Right.
We cannot take or we cannot pick up the test and we can see that this no test or no nothing in the screen or whatever. Cannot do that kind of thing. So that means that trustability is very important between buyers and also sellers. So sometimes we might have like a face vision, the face visual product. It means,
Right.
okay, I'm making this lettuce. I'm making this baby leaf. That type of approach is quite important to give a secure feeling to the buyer or consumer. So these are marketing the tips. I also have a discussion with the many inquiries of investors or these kind of people. And also, maybe I'm going to add one more thing, that is the high value product. Because whatever we say, that plant factory or vertical farming, maybe operational expense will be higher than the local or maybe open air or field product. And also field product is a natural product. So someday they have a big harvest, big yield, and someday it's very small yield. So price fluctuate.
Right.
Talk about the lowest price level, they cannot compete. I mean, the vertical farming or a plant factory product cannot compete to the very low price with a big yield period. So that's quite the sensitive issue for the producer. So that's why I always say that what is the value added? For example, like a timing, season.
Yes. Right.
We change the seasons,
yes.
We change the new way of the setting, the maybe high nutrition or different timing. So these are quite important to secure the price level high, and maybe we can say that to complete it's quite a good economy of the vertical farming operations. Yeah.
Yasuhiro, thank you for bringing that up. And I want to follow up a little bit on that because as you pointed out, for customers, particularly, I know this in Japan, as well as in China as well now, they care so much about the product traceability. They would like to be sure that the product that's being produced or the produce, the crop itself is safe. And the way that it's grown is safe and clean and proper. And that is a value added really for the consumers. So how, and you mentioned earlier that it's important to show this to the consumers, that perhaps when you, the way that it's being grown is safe and clean, the way you harvest them is safe and clean, the way you prepare the food and cut the food is also safe and clean. But how do you envision showing this to the consumers? How do you envision that? Is it remotely by video perhaps, or is it live in a retail store? Or tell us what your ideas.
Actually, it's quite common in a Japanese supermarket, like the maybe quite close to the entrance, maybe special corner is the many open vegetables, and also there are many pictures of the farmers nearby. So there's, the caption is like, "This is my harvest. This is my, product." So I made this kind of thing. So I think looking at the kind of the picture, we feel quite safe feeling, and also seeing that the face of the producer is giving a quite good, the confidence in that product.
Right.
So I think we can use that kind of the philosophy, maybe mental trick. So I think, of course, we can use like a video clip or pictures, because anyway, e-commerce, the visuality is the key. So how to create, beautiful and also trustable and clean image wise of the homepage is a key, and also giving a, I made it, or this is the way to, the grow our product, and also this is the hygiene checking or that kind of thing. I think this is the maybe not
Yes,
easy,
yes.
but I think
Right,
it's
right.
the key to for
Right,
the e-commerce, I think.
Correct. And I think it's pertinent to mention at this point that just very recently, the vertical farming company InFarm, which is based in Berlin, has just had their Series C investment round of funding, and they raised about $170 million. And they expect that they would be able to raise about $200 million at the end of the Series C investment round. And they have a distributed model essentially of vertical farming. They have these vertical farms that they're building in retail stores, in schools, shopping malls, and so on and so forth. And so they have this distributed model, and they have those in Berlin, basically a network of these retail stores, farms and stores, and they're now present in 10 countries and 30 cities, and they're coming to Japan. So Erin, when I get back to you after I speak with Christine, I'd like for you to address that, please, in terms of the consumer attitude in Japan about this distributed model of basically in-store and customer-facing farms. Christine, your turn, please. So, of course, the Association for Vertical Farming has a number, many member companies, not necessarily all in Asia, but around the world. But in your interaction with these companies, tell us what you found in terms of the opportunities that have been presented to these companies as a result of COVID-19. Christine, if you could unmute yourself, please.
Yes, sorry. I've talked to myself. So the opportunity through COVID-19 is really mainly the better understanding of why we need vertical farming. But independent from that, a lot of new young companies, startups, have looked into the field from different technology angles, AI and the better automation and an optimized, fully automated system. But the COVID-19 helped them to get a better, easier access to investment, and also a better cooperation opportunity, reaching out to bigger partners, for example. But still, in Europe, it is a very challenging situation for startups. It is different in the US and different in Asia. I would like to hear the others comment also to that. And as I said, as a producer, it's different than a technology provider in that field. As a technology provider and startup and adding new technology, you are welcome by the others to cooperate. And as a grower, I think markets really opened up to have new cooperations with retail, for example, or online delivery.
Okay, thanks, Christine. And I'm glad that you mentioned about technology and innovation, because certainly the disruption caused by COVID-19 has certainly caused, incited a lot of vertical farmers to incorporate innovation and technology in their operation to be able to cope with the disruption. Talking about automation, David, I'm going to talk to you about automation in terms of the uplift vertical farm for SANANBIO. But let me turn to Eri first. Eri, so tell us about that. What do you think might be the attitude of the Japanese consumers to have the type of distributed farms in retail stores, shopping malls, schools that are customer facing? Tell us what you think in Japan.
Sure. So distributed farming model is fantastic, basically. So even many years there are many restaurants or mini type, small type for decades ago there have been many small system that many restaurants or store has tried, but I think there's still a way to improve because actuality is that the performance and the beauty, how you present a store in front of consumer is also a minor issue, for example. So first it's beautiful, but how you present the beautiful plants, it has to be super beautiful. It shouldn't be shrinked, so to impress the consumer. So, and how to keep the cleanness or maintenance. So I think it's to keep going. I think the maintenance and the careful, careful careness is also the key, actuality. But I think that distributed farming is a key with this era, the IoT, connected with a data-driven farming is a key. So not only growing at the farm, I think the collecting the nice data so that you can use even the small, farming school or even at home, I think it's a key so that we need to have a database so that we can share, minimize the risk. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Yes. So let me turn back to you, David. So as Christine said, the disruption caused by the pandemic has really caused certain vertical farm companies to really think hard. And of course, automation has been one of the innovations or technologies that have been put forward because some workers get sick and so on and so forth. And so automation certainly would help, especially in terms of ensuring the safety and the cleanness of the operation. And I know that SANANBIO has that uplift vertical farm innovation and design. So tell us about that and what's the status of that and whether COVID-19 has actually helped SANANBIO promote it.
Yeah, in terms of the engineering technology that because of the rise of labor cost in China, all the vertical farm builders try their best to get a way to solve the labor problem. If you look around other places of the world like the United States and Middle East and Europe, the labor cost is pretty much higher than China. So when we move our farm to the developed country like US or Singapore, the cost model will change. Will change that the labor cost will take nearly 8% of the whole. So nobody can afford that. So as a solution, indoor farm solution provider, we nearly 2 years before we started to get the next second generation solution like the vertical farm or totally automated system. Also, there's still some technologies like harvesting technology, like some special technologies need to be solved. But I think at least this year in 2020, at least 2 companies in China claim that they have a total automated system solutions for vertical farm. That means we can build a farm more than 20 layers, and the farm will be built. The building of the farm will be reached to at least 50 meters high, 50 meters. And I also know that in the middle of next year, there will be a total automated farm like demo will be built in the province of China. It looks like an experimental area, but it will be totally automated. I think during the pandemic period, people are getting used to stay at home. Actually, Chinese people feel that it should be easier stay at home, and they're nothing difficult except for the money. Nothing difficult. We stay at home, but we are getting more and more used to working, connecting, talking, and doing something on the internet. This is a very emerging trend. So to the plant factory, people feel we are put a lot of energy in the research of the remote management. Use a cell phone or laptop. This is what we do because of the pandemic. Also, we have some orders during the pandemic area from Malaysia, from Singapore, that like a container plant factory, like small farm plant factory. The clients need, one of the clients need is that they should be more and more convenient to control and to to operation. So they need a specific software. They need specific management, remote management method solutions. So that's what we do during the pandemic. Yeah.
Okay, David, one question. So I've seen the demonstration warehouse or plant factory in Xiamen, where you have the uplift automation, and it's very impressive. But what about the economics of it? Do you think that you're able to work out the economics so that it becomes a viable operation commercially?
Okay, if we move this, we have calculated many times, and we have changed this solution a lot compared with the demo version 2 years before, and it was it's total automated system. But the most advantage of this solution is that we can save nearly 19% of the people used. I mean labor cost in this, but the labor cost in China only take nearly 35 to 40% of the whole cost. That means if we cut down, for example, if we cut nearly 19% of the labor, you can only cut nearly, for example, no more than 13% of the whole cost of the plant factory in China. So that was not significant enough as we thought. But if we move this solution out of China, maybe in United States or in Singapore, it will nearly more than half of the total cost. And I can give you some number. For example, in China, in the normal modules, 60 layers normal modules farm, the produce cost of the vegetables like lettuce is roughly 20 Chinese yuan, 20 Chinese yuan. Yeah, 20 Chinese yuan per kilo. But if we use uplift system, the price of the cost of the production is 17. Only no more than 5% decrease, because the labor cost doesn't we increase the first investment, and at the same time the labor cost does make a very significant decrease on the total cost. Yeah,
that makes sense.
Abroad. Yeah.
All right, thank you, David. Now let me turn to you, Yasuhiro, again. So in terms of technology and innovation, since we're on that subject, tell us about the most exciting innovation that Heliospectra currently has.
Yep, thank you. It's quite good topics for me to talk. First of all, we have two names. One is the vertical farming, another one is the plant factory.
Okay.
So farm and factory It's very different things actually. So in Japan, we use plant factory from the day one, which means we try to build like something like a factory, which means the factory should be automated and maybe seek for the mass productions and consistent quality. So these are mostly commonly talk the factory, right? Industrial product. So try to treat crops, which means a nature product or not natural creatures, but try to treat them as the industry products as much as possible. So that's why we need to have AI or IoT or automations or anyway, the target is mass productions, less labors, and consistent quality and more yield and less claim. So these are quite common buzzwords in the normal industrial product. So how are we going to materialize in the farming or maybe for the natural product? That's the biggest challenge we have right now. And then, of course, we have many new technology coming in, but how are we going to treat these natural creatures like a crop? Because crop is not really similar to like a boat and nuts. So we really think about how we're going to get their information. So we are now trying to develop more on the like bioreactions type of the technology, which means like a sensor. What kind of sensor we develop and what kind of the bioreactions coming from the crop we're going to monitor. Then how we are going to treat or how we're going to, like a temperature up or moisture up or whatever.
Wow.
So we really wanted to have a crop or vegetable in a very comfortable circumstances. I don't want them to feel any stress. Then maybe I think if we can materialize that type of the technology, I think maybe the crops will be closer to the industrial products like boats and nuts. Then maybe we have more opportunity for the automations or maybe less labors or mass productions. So then price going to be lower, operational cost will be lower and also more competitive. So I think that's the way we really have to.
Right.
So in short, maybe how are we going to treat natural product as more like an industrial product? So what kind of technology, what kind of new innovation is needed to treat natural product to the small industrial product? So we are working on that.
That's a great paradigm. And that requires communication with a natural product so that you know exactly what it needs. Yeah, I think it was Professor Toyoki Kozai, who used to be with Chiba University, who talked about the talking plant, which is basically communicating with the plant through sensors and controls. And to have that interaction with the plant as a way of diagnosing what the plants really need to be able to optimize its growth and quality really is key to this. And once you know that, then you can design the corresponding industrial mass production for that plant. So yeah, that's a very cutting edge paradigm. Christine, I'm going to get back with you, but since we need to hurry up here because the time is ticking, let's talk about investments. Eri, with the Japan Plant Factory Association, you're working with your members. I know that some of the panelists talked about the disruption as well in investment due to COVID-19. And that's the private investment. What about on the side of the government? I read that, for instance, in Singapore, Enterprise Singapore, which is a program of their Department of Trade and Industry, if I recall it correctly, they set aside about 55 million Singaporean dollars to incentivize companies to improve their innovation capabilities so that they can produce more with less resources. So anyway, there's that public investment. What about in Japan? Is the Japanese government providing some public investment to plant factories at this time?
Yes, so basically the Japanese government started those kind of investment program in 2008 to encourage the people to actually build the farm. And then I think there's some, there's a next stage that, government is hoping hoping for the farms to be independent, not actually giving the money to build, but they were, rather than that, they were trying to give some incentive for the tax or some kind of different the process. So those are different things, but I think compared to the Chinese government, of course, the Japanese government have a limited, budget.
This time, yes.
Yeah, and then also the different prefecture have a different initiative for to encourage the clean energy, and then they have a different programs. So I think that each prefecture states is working individually.
Right, and that makes sense, Ari, because well, the plant factory vertical farms in Japan are relatively more mature now compared with the ones in China, and so the ones in China perhaps requires more help and investment. So thank you. So let me turn to you, David, real quickly. Speak to us quickly about any investments or any help that the financial help that your government is providing plant factories or vertical farms in China.
Yes, just I give you two examples, very short examples. The first is that on February, the county government of Anxi, Fujian, a small county where the plant factory is located there, and on February they get some veritable yield every day into their their government vegetable supply plan because of the pandemic, because the transport of vegetables are stopped and there isn't enough vegetable crops in the supermarket and in the local market. So they take some yield, nearly 500 kilos per day, last for 2 months from the plant factory. They buy the vegetables and they sell them to keep the enough supply of the market, local market. This is the first. I think this is a great signal that the government at least know the importance of the plant factory. The second, Chinese government give some plan. We call it 5 years plan. For every 5 years, they make plans.
Yes.
You know that, right? They make plans for every aspect of the society, military, economic, taste, everything. But no plant factory agriculture before. And just 2 months before, we got some information that from the next 5 years plan, like from 2021 to 2026, we call it the 14th five plan of the Chinese government. They will take the vertical agriculture technology development and research and industry into the 14th five plan of the Chinese government. This is a great step. That means a lot of financial, a lot of support, and a lot of combination of R&D and manufacture will be real start. So I think this is a great, it's a great thing. It's a great thing to help the plant factory of China reduce their operation cost and find their way and find their value to the society. Yeah.
Right. So I suppose we're expecting here that plant factory / vertical farming industry in China really will flourish in the coming years, given this amount of incentives that the central government is providing, which is great for the industry. Yes. So given the time, so I think it's important for me now to turn to the questions, a few questions that the audience has provided us. So let's see. Okay, how supportive are Asian governments to the development of vertical farm, indoor farm in terms of political policy and financial investment? I think in part we have already addressed that. So let me move to the next one. Does any panelist, is there any panelist aware of the status of vertical farming or indoor farming industry in the Republic of Korea? I suppose that's South Korea, correct? Yes, Republic of Korea. Ari, what about you? Tell us what you know about South Korea in terms of vertical farming factory.
Yeah, I think, in Korea, has started the plant factory slash vertical farming activities quite early stage. I think there are a couple of good professors or researchers actually study abroad or even in Korea that, as a big, initiative to develop the technology, collaboration with a company. And then I heard, since we received, before COVID-19, we regularly receive 5,000 tour people for tour per every year. And then I think last year, I think there are more people coming from Korea. I guess government was, maybe pushing people to, for some kind of, encourage for the smart farming kind of, initiatives. So I guess there are more farms and then also doing some strawberries or medicinal herbs, medicinal, Korean ginseng, Korean, carrots, ginseng. Also, I think there are actually many more activities than before, I guess.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have somebody here from actually South Korea, Francisca Cuello. And she made a comment, or Francisco, sorry. I'm a founder of agriculture company Green in South Korea, and it's booming. So that's a good, a great thing, yes. One more question. Is there any way that we can get organic certification in plant factories or vertical farms? Anyone from the panel? What about you, Ari? Organic certification, has that been addressed in Japan?
Yeah, I guess Christine wanted to say something, so maybe you can go first.
Go ahead, Ari, and then I follow.
Okay. Okay. So organic, first of all, I think, it depends on how the, consumers, react to the term organic. Is different by country. For example, I think, for example, if you're in United States, I imagine organic is a big thing. I would say organic is more, I would say, as a consumer level, as a more non-pesticides. It's kind of big term in Japan. And of course, there's an organic market in Japan. I think, basically when the government, put the regulation, it was, assuming that people are using the soil, and then it has to be organic, fertilizer. So, I'm not the expert, so I shouldn't go more in that detail. But I think, it depends on what kind of, nutrient solution you're using, and then different kind of situations. So, yeah. So maybe Christine can, yeah.
Yes, yes. Christine, please.
Yeah, as I said or wrote, organic farming is really connected and bind to soil farming. And in Europe, and I think in most of the countries, we won't be able to have an organic farming certificate, but we are building a new certification for smart farming, for plant factories and vertical farming. That is our aim, and I think the aim of many farms and many technology providers are gathering at the moment with us to build that new certificate beyond organic or organic 2.0, whatever you call it then. But I think we need to build a new and own certification for that.
Okay.
To make also clear that it's local, fresh, and highly nutritional content. So it is really beyond what we understand at the moment with organic farming.
Okay, so here's a question to the panel. This is from Ramin. For the panel, sustainability and nutritional value are differentiating factors for vertical farms. So is there any special certification or labeling scheme in Asia for fresh produce? What about you, David? In China, is there any special certification or labeling scheme or protocol in China for fresh produce? Are there some requirements that when you package your fresh produce, you have to label it accordingly?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I want to give a small, brief, answer on the former question. Actually, the certification of organic in China is also are constrained by the soil. Hydroponics cannot be certified as the organic, but beyond the soil, you can make a certification of the organic, use artificial light, use the soil plus the liquid nutrition. It's okay. That's the short answer. The second is that there's a lot of certifications like packaging standard, the quality of the vegetables, and the process of the production in China, specifically focused on the leaf vegetables. I think also there are many ISO, so we can ISO certification, like ISO 2002, 9001. I don't know. I'm not an expert actually. So there are a lot of standard actually. That standard is very useful for plant factory, because if our farm cannot be certified as organic, we are not so competitive compared with normal like organic production. That will be bring some confuse to the consumers. But if we can apply those certifications like quality, processing, packaging, then we are very have advantage on that side. No pesticides, no heavy metal, no pollution, total clean, edible directly. This is our advantage. We can get money interest from a normal consumer. It's very important for us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Here's a quick question from one of the members of the audience. Which herbs are in demand and which are imported or exported perhaps? So what types of herbs that are being grown in plant factories or vertical farms are in demand? Can you give some examples?
Herb, right?
Yes, herbs, yeah.
I think basil is one kind of herb in China. We have
Okay.
Italian basil, Roman basil, and a lot of basil is herbs. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Eri, would you like to add to that in Japan?
Yeah, I guess as other country, and David said, basil is the biggest things. It's very popular, and not only herbs, but I think there are many question or requests that about the wasabi, for example. So I think the diversification of the crops, how far we can grow and how far we can do, with this technology is a key. And
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Here's a question from Gabrielle Pussetti. Is it possible to know the production cost, kilograms by SANANBIO and other vertical farming solutions at present? Energy as average cost at $100 per megawatt hour, labor at $30,000 per year. I'm not so clear about the question. So Gabrielle, if I may request that you please email that to us, and then I will relay that to David, and then he can provide you with the answer. And that is true as well for all the members of the audience, because our time is limited now. If you have any questions, please feel free to email the questions to us, and we will be relaying them to the appropriate panelists, and we will get the answers for you. So let me see here if there's any more. Okay, I think that's pretty much it in terms of the questions. All right, so let me turn back to the panelists here, and if you could take turns and tell us what you see. What do you foresee then in terms of after COVID-19? What do you think will be the prospect for vertical farms in Asia? How about, let's start with Yasuhiro.
Yes, you know, actually the interest in vertical farming is increasing all over the world. But there are some differences between Asia and other countries, because Asia more on the vertical farming rather than indoor farming, because of the bigger populations and a quite small land like Japan or Singapore, so cannot provide enough land to build an indoor factory, rather to go to the vertical farming. So actually, who is the investor of the vertical farming? Who is really inquiry coming from? Actually, mostly from the industry people, not farmers. So that's quite an important factor we have to remember, because they are coming from the different industry or different category without having a deep knowledge in farming or agriculture, which means they wanted to have a turnkey solutions. So that's the really common inquiry. Who can provide the turnkey solutions?
Right.
So unfortunately, we do not have any good party who can provide the total turnkey solutions. Maybe we have some, the equipment builders or like greenhouse builders or building builders with the, environment equipment and the LED light from us, or that type of combinations, but they do not have any experience or know-how.
Okay.
So actually, this package is quite, important. That's why I think that the role of the GPFA and also ABF is quite important to organize both the, the infrastructure side and also know-how side. So more holistic integrations to provide a more turnkey solution. That is really important to catch the recent, upcoming demands.
You're right. Yasuhiro, that's a very good point that you raised. So thank you for that. And I believe that you're right. Going forward, a company that can provide a turnkey solution for vertical farms, plant factory, certainly would be in demand. Eri, this is really our parting words here. So tell us what you have.
Yeah, I think Yasuhiro kindly made a good comments. We appreciate that. And also, if we consider how the industry developing, I think, besides, building the farm, and then also we need to care about how you manage the farm as well, because it's really important, because that's the key of the consistent, sustainable, management and how you operate the farm. So I think all the management, process and how you operate the farm is also important. And also, I think if I see the future, I think I'm quite positive, because we see lots of different expertise coming to industry, different and diversifies, and then so I think it's all about the integrating. How you see the social design, and then how you see, how you talk to the community, and then speak in a different, same language, because if you have a different background, you totally speak in a different way. And then also we need to start communicating with consumer, also the kids, and then gender issues, or the poverty issues, all kind of different issues that I believe in this technology can be the tool to solve as an ecosystem to help solve the global issue the holistic way, I guess. So I think I'm quite positive and looking forward to it. Yeah.
Eri, thank you for raising that. That's really crucial. When we talk about sustainability, we talk about economic sustainability, environmental sustainability, but there's also the social sustainability. So it's very important to have that communication with the consumers, with the general public, making sure that they really understand all these innovations and these technologies that are being integrated to produce these crops that really not only meet their demands, but are sustainable and healthy and safe and clean. So thank you for pointing that out. That's very crucial. David.
Hey. Yeah.
Yes, tell us your your parting thoughts.
Okay. And if we talk about the future or the status of agricultural development in Asia, I think we should open our mind. I have just get into this industry for 5 years. I think we can basically the SANANBIO team take that vertical farming or plant factory as a tool. I guess there's a lot of sub technologies inside. For example, the photosynthesis science, the plant biology, the nutrition, and environmental controlling, engineering, remote control, and optoelectronics, something like that. That if we take the plant factory, the whole system as a tool, we can find many ways or directions in the development of this industry. For example, Asia and China has a lot of traditional farmland. If you can find a way to use this technology, maybe one of it can help the farmers grow their have profit or grow their own farm, get become rich. Let's see like that. That will be one direction. That will be the value of the vertical farming technology here in Asia. And the second, if you we are very very know that in China only some big cities, mega cities, can afford the price of the products coming from plant factories. So if the price is not big enough, how can you develop your industry? What is the reason you build your own farm? The total closed high cost farm. That means you must find some ways that can support your business, help your business make good money. Then you can make your dream come true, like produce vegetables, produce leaf vegetables, seed vegetables for all the people. Now we have tried a lot, like we are cooperating with the traditional farm. We are cooperating with some inter-industry, like electricity power companies. For example, in the north of China, there's a lot of power stations, electric power stations. They produce a lot of power, but they need a high cost to track the power to, for example, east of China. And they need some local consumers to consume all these powers. Yeah, that's why we are cooperating with the top one China electricity power company to build their own plant factories to supply the local vegetables for the local people, and use that. Because of this cooperation with the power station company, the price of the electricity can be decreased nearly 18%. That means a lot compared with the normal. And now we have started a lot of collaboration with our R&D centers. For example, breeding, acceleration breeding. If we can use we use cross breeding. The total controlled environment has a lot of advantage on the indoor breeding. That will save a lot of breeding time for normal farm. So I think also a lot of military use. I think that will be sensitive, but I think military use is a high demand. In many areas of the world. Okay. Yeah. So if we can open our mind, all business and this kind of industry will be supposed to come from different areas, and we call it inter-industry areas. That will be we should, especially in Asia, there's many of them of which are developing countries. So I think this is very important.
Thank you, David. Christine, I'm going to give you the last word, but I have one quick follow-up for David here. David, as Yasuhiro mentioned, and Eri agreed with that, developing a turnkey vertical farm operation seems to be something that will be in demand going forward in the future. And looking around at various vertical farming companies now, there's only a few, in my opinion, that are well positioned to design a turnkey operation for vertical farm. I think SANANBIO is one of those. What's your take on that?
SANANBIO, yeah, we are planning. So we think this vertical farm is a combined technology and services items to the market. Many of our clients are not farmers. They are investors. They are the management. They are officers of the government. They just think this farm is very good. Please give me one farm. Tell me how much money you need. Tell me how much money you earn per year. Yeah, this is quite simple. So I think the turnkey service is very important. But we also find many challenges when we do turnkey project out of China, abroad market, because you need construction. You need a facility delivery from China, maybe from Japan, maybe from other world to their clients. We need the technology service for the local customer. So I think the turnkey service all over the world, there is really a big challenge to any company of the world. It's a big challenge. So that's why we are finding collaborations. I mean, agencies like distributors, like partners all over the world. We want we want to be a collaborated with those mature and technology trained company to develop this industry in local market. That's very important for the turnkey project. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, David. Christine, we've come to the end of the roundtable here, and we've heard, some really valuable information at this roundtable. So, as a way of summing things up, tell us what your impressions are in terms of the future of vertical farming after COVID-19.
I really agree in the analysis of the tendencies I've heard, and I share that we will see and need turnkey project providers, but also that we need a better and more communication with citizens, but also within the industry. I see that also on a global level, especially in Europe, we start seeing more interaction from so-called old-fashioned industry coming into vertical farming. But I want to raise an aspect which has been kind of neglected. COVID is important and we will overcome it. But after COVID, there will be the climate crisis and climate change. And that will be a much huger challenge for all of us. And for that, we have to be prepared. And exactly for that, we need vertical farming and plant factories implemented to ensure food security, the food supply chain. And for this, I think we need also to shake hands and work much closer with farmers. Technology and non-farmers flocking and going into this new vertical farming and plant factory industry. Yes, I see that, and that is good. But most of all, we really need to communicate and also join forces with the existing traditional horticulture and farmers, because that's the base of the production. And we have to bring stabilizing factors through the technology we have into that field. And I want to really raise awareness for that and put more efforts into that.
Right.
And with our new partners like DLG and also the horticulture sector, we have started looking and building up partnerships in this sector. And I also think for China, this is very important. You have a strong political demand to secure your farmers and to develop a technology and industry independent from the farmers, I think is not a wise path to go, especially, as I said, in times of climate change coming
All right.
and existing.
Yes, I mean, certainly, Christine, you're absolutely right. After COVID-19, there is climate change. In fact, we now have the impacts of climate
Yes.
change, and that's just going to increase over time, unfortunately. But anyhow, thank you so much to all our panelists. After this conversation that we've had at this roundtable, I'm just much more convinced that really vertical farming, plant factories, are just going to flourish going forward in Asia, particularly, but globally in general as well. So Eri Hayashi, Yasuhiro Suzuki, David Lee, Kristen Zimmermann-Lössl, thank you so very much for joining us for this roundtable. And we will see you in the future, sooner than later. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And to
Thank you very
everyone,
much.
Thank you to everybody. Thank you.
and to everyone who participated today, thank you all very much for joining us. Again, if you have any questions, please email
Send
those
them.
to us and we will arrange for those to be answered. So
Yes.
thank you. Good afternoon in Asia, good morning in
Yes.
Europe, and very early in the morning here in North America.
Good evening to you.
Thank you. See you
Thank
soon.
you.